Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be joined with Sharon, who's come all the way from Austin, Texas to be with us with her fantastic film, In Tow. Let's take a look at the clip.
Thank you for calling Gulfway Manufactured Homes. Please hold, and someone will be with you as soon as they are available.
We need to get out of here. We're losing the house, Mom.
Please continue to hold. A representative will be right with you.
Sharon, thank you so much for coming all the way from Texas to be here, and welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. How's it all going?
Oh, thank you. It's been great. It's been just a week of so much generosity from execs and the New Filmmakers LA team, and just being around like 20 directors, being able to like take in their energies has just been incredible.
Well, thank you firstly for bringing your film to us. I'm literally, your film was so good. Like, I've got so many questions, but for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
So In Tow is a comedic drama that is about a self-involved teenager and her overworked single mom. They wake up one morning and their mobile home is getting towed away with them inside of it. And it's just this mother-daughter that have kind of like grown apart, and they're having to confront just their differences and their issues in the middle of this like over-the-top situation.
Sharon, it's a brilliant idea. Like, I mean, so good. You know, it's so nice when you're watching a film and you're like, oh my goodness, I have never seen this before, and you're like running off adrenaline because you're like, what a brilliant idea. Where did the hopefully not experience of being towed in the back of a truck, but like where in a
Not
house,
literally,
but like
yeah.
where did that inspiration come for you and turn this idea into a story?
Well, a couple things. I mean, one of them is that when I was growing up, my parents had a hard time like keeping our house, and I had a lot of frustration for my mom just because there wasn't like financial insecurity in our home, especially my senior year of high school. Like, one of our houses burned down, and then another one got repossessed, and it was just like we couldn't just have the very basic need just there for us. So part of that was inspired by that. I think filmmaking is a very expensive form of therapy for me, and so I was processing just a lot of that. And also, I think as a first-gen Mexican American, I also was like now exploring the feelings of growing apart from my mom. The more I assimilated to U.S. culture, and the more that she supported me to follow my dreams, like it was just like pulling us apart. And you know, she was actually one of my first film supporters because when I turned 15, I asked her if instead of a quinceañera, I could have a video camera instead, and so she was totally fine with that, and it kind of it was a game changer. My first film business negotiation, and I mean, it was such a big part of me being able to continue to make movies. But you know, now almost a lifetime later, we're living on two different planets almost.
I mean, goodness me, thank you for sharing those different dynamics, because I mean, goodness, from both, you know, the home is your security, the first thing, right? Like to lose your home in any form of capacity or any form of, it's a traumatic experience anyways, not to mention in this case on the back of a truck, like my goodness, a whole another level there. But then also the kind of estranged relationship, and you know, in this particular, for your own personal experience and sharing that between a mother and daughter was just, you know, it was really amazing to see up there in this storyline. But also I'm sure a lot of people can really relate to that particular story in their own lives as well, you know, which was really powerful. I thought your actors were amazing. I mean, especially like, this is not just any film, this is a film where they've got to go through their conflicts whilst in a moving truck. Like, how was the casting process for you? And then obviously, like, you know, this is the film where, you know, things are moving, essentially. So how was that whole experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, I take my time with casting because it's 90% of my job.
Yeah.
And Katie Atkinson, I'd actually worked with her on my previous short film that's streaming on Max. It's called When You Clean a Stranger's Home. And that was more of a video essay, so I didn't get to really like work with her in the way that I would for like a conventional narrative film. And so I really wanted to have her on this, but I still was just like, okay, I'm going to put her through the casting process and make sure that she's still the right fit for this specific project. And I mean, she just knocked it out of the park in the auditions. And then I was bringing in moms to do different reads with her. And when Sandy Avila came in, who was someone I'd been wanting to work with for a while, I saw the sparkle in Katie's eye. She was just like, I could feel the chemistry in the room, and they were really great. And you know, we were coming out of kind of pandemic times, and so they were mainly interacting in the virtual space during rehearsals, but I mean, just having waited for that special connection to happen was very helpful, because you know, it was all through a computer.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Leading up to the film.
But I love that you said about having, you know, 90% of what you do is casting, which means obviously shows how much you care as a director about your cast and getting that right fit, obviously. And clearly you did. You knocked it out of the park with those two, particularly. How was this then as a director, like directing this particular film? There's obviously high conflict, and you know, there's things moving, so there's a bit of another added element. So how was the directing experience? Of course, you obviously worked, you know, with one of the lead cast, but how was that for you?
I mean, I feel like I learned a lot about timing for this one, because it was like, okay, she has to count the dollar bills and then like turn her head at this very specific moment, while this exact thing has to fall in an exact place. So I'm really happy that I also really took my time in hiring an assistant director for this. And Larissa Garcia Bob, based out of Austin, Texas too, like was just so crucial in like helping me communicate the timing and just like figure it out together. So yeah, I learned a lot about that part of things, but also it was my first film where I really like was able to develop backstories with my actors and spend the most time I had with my actors, because usually, you know, I've been working on very small budgets, and so it was like, oh, you know, let's do what we can do here. But this time it was just, I mean, you know, it helped that both our actors also had personal experience with some of these things. Like Katie grew up in a mobile home with a single mom, and then Sandy, she'd recently lost her mom, and so she would tell me, you know, that she brought in a lot of that, like just thinking of things, like the things that maybe never got said, or you know, just there was a lot for her to work with in this role. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you know, I think you know, your film just has so many, whether you're being educated or entertained, you know, there's so much in there in terms of relationship, you know, like there was so many nuances that even I recognized, like when my mom was a single parent and we couldn't afford certain things, and you just sat back a little bit, or you changed your thought or how you were doing things, because, you know, when your house is literally in possession, it's like, you know, there's so much more that is going through your head as a mom, as a daughter, everything. And then of course, you know, a daughter who's growing up, you know, and obviously, you know, developing as a human being and as an adult, and so all those different pressures and dynamics you got it so perfectly on camera. It was just really like amazing. But what I just love to see is just to see this sort of circulation of their relationship grow. And that brings me to say, like, what did you want your audience to sort of take and experience from your film?
Well, I one part of it is that I wanted people to just kind of like think through how ridiculous it is that like this very basic need is something that we are having to like fight for. And so that's like on one end of it. On another end is just that, you know, being someone who grew up below the poverty level, a lot of times like our stories on screen just feel very like one note. And that note is usually like just this very like sad drama that almost like strips you of humanity. And so for this, it was like even people who are in this kind of intense survival mode, like we're still human, we're still going through like trying to figure out our relationships with our parents, we're just trying to get to the homecoming game, and there's room to laugh, there's room to cry,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't all have to be like this somber experience.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah.
And just on a technical side, because I think everyone's curious, like, how did you create this experience of a moving truck and filming? Like, what was that? How did you work with your DP and that whole kind of move? I mean, there's a lot of dynamics there, and you did it so
actually,
well.
So we had to start thinking about a lot of this like in the script stage.
Yeah.
It was like how is the motion going to be just like not too chaotic for an audience to get motion sickness or something, or it had to be very intentional motion that was mapped out, like when are we going to have more motion versus like it's going to calm down a little bit or taper. And so with my DP, I would talk about those things. With my producers, we would talk about it. Once my DP came into the picture to actually figure out the technical part of the motion, it was like we had different terms. I don't remember them at this point, but it was different terms for different types of motion, because sometimes it was like this kind of shake, or sometimes it was this kind of shake. And then he was just one part of the equation. Another part was like having our actors do just like a subtle wobble here and there, not push it too much. And then we had someone, a special effects person that had tied a fishing line, which we call monofilament. So fishing line, and they were just like pulling the strings behind a wall somewhere and making things shake. We also had big special effects fans. I think the last part was bringing in just like the right sound design too. Because that, I mean, we needed all those different components to come together. Plus VFX, actually, that was
there you go.
That was very important too. And when VFX, they would put like reflection on the windows, or take out the fishing line. But yeah, it was like all the different departments were dancing together to make our audience like buy into this like motion.
You did a fantastic job. Like, I'm not joking. I know there's. I was
Thank
asking
you.
because I was like, you're probably going to teach a whole filmmaking class on how to.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm ready to.
You know, like, my goodness. But it was so, because I can only imagine there was a lot. I mean, you can, as a producer, I could tell there was a lot of thought that went into making that effective. And I was like, please, no one for that, please. Like, please. You know. So I definitely felt like I was on this truck too. But no, I mean, it was, you know, again, I think I just love these characters that you just brought into life, you know, and I'm still thinking about them. I'm like, is there more from those characters? I love them. But what's next for you?
So the feature that I'm working on is about a young millennial who's taking her grandma to get ice cream. So it's a very simple A to B story, but her grandmother is in a wheelchair, and she has early onset dementia, and she can't see and hear. So she's very dependent on people. So it's a little bit about caretaking. But the millennial takes her to get ice cream, and on the way there, and this 3-mile stroll, it becomes just this journey of like heartbreak, and it's a little chaotic the way In Tow was, where, you know, there's a lot of things going on because our millennial not only is having to wheel her grandmother, she's also got her 5-year-old hyperactive sister in another hand. So there's just a lot of like multi-generational dynamics there, and it's based on my own experience, just with my grandmother, kind of on what I didn't realize was going to be our last like outing together. But yeah, it has a lot of themes of just as millennials, sometimes we're always thinking about the future and the past, but you know, she's having to interact with someone who only has the present, and so she's really humbled by this whole experience.
Oh, I'm already there. I was like, you're telling this story. I'm like, I'm there. I can't wait for this film as well. It's gonna be a feature as well.
Yes.
Amazing, amazing. That's gonna be fantastic. And again, it'd be so special, giving this sort of legacy to the love of you and your grandma as well, which is, you know, grandmother is beautiful. So, I just want to say thank you so much for, you know, coming from Texas to be here with us and have your film with us at New Filmmakers LA. And thank you so much for In Tow. We really appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you very much, Sharon, everyone.